change your energy, change your perspective, which changes your thoughts, changes your words, which changes everything. Interestingly enough, this week's Torah portion is, I forget what it's called, but the theme of it is Lashon Hara. And Lashon Hara is like negative speech, negative talk, or sometimes that could be considered like gossip. But it could be outward about somebody else, or it could also be inward about yourself. And what the Torah says about it and what the rabbis say about it is that Lashon Hara, this negative talk, is like almost like one of the like most challenging or like almost like worst offenses you can make in life, because when you talk negatively about somebody and you put that out there, it has like this rippling effect that can do so much damage that you don't even realize, because you said something negative because you weren't feeling good, likely, because if you were feeling good, you probably would have said something positive. So being mindful of how we talk about others and how we think and talk about ourselves is so important, because of the massive impact that it can have. And then so the opposite of Lashon Hara is Lashon HaTov, which is like positive speech or good talk or praise, they might say. And when we praise others and we praise ourselves and we talk highly of others and talk and speak highly of ourselves, and even our thoughts are almost just as powerful. To think positively of others and praise others in our thoughts, and think positively of ourselves and praise ourselves in our thoughts, that has like the equal but opposite effect of Lashon Hara. So both very powerful. And then it comes down to like perspective, because you might say, oh well, I'm just speaking honestly, and maybe your honest opinion is a negative opinion of somebody else, and you might say like, well, I'm entitled to have my opinion. But what good are you doing in the world by putting your negative opinion out there? And an interesting way to think about this is, and what the rabbis have talked about, is when you are like at a wedding, you're at your best friend's wedding, and you maybe don't think so highly of his wife, or his chosen bride, but they say you should always praise the bride. You should always say, wow, the bride is so beautiful, or the bride is beautiful, even if maybe you think otherwise, because because the groom or the husband or your friend, this is his chosen wife, and he likely thinks that she's so beautiful, and so from his eyes she's so beautiful, and so you should not take that away from him by putting your opinion out there, and for him to hear or anybody else to hear, because it's really just your negative thought, and it can have like a rippling, very tumultuous impact on people. So Lashon HaTov, Lashon Hara, outwardly about yourself and about others, I guess inwardly about yourself and outwardly about others and other things. We need to be very mindful, and they say it's interesting that this parsha falls on Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the new month, because it's a new moon, And with the new moon, the sky is dark, and from each day on here forward, we get to kind of leave the negativity in the darkness, and the moon is going to start to lighten itself up for the next 30. I guess is it 15 days? Yeah, 15 to 30 days until the next new moon. But yeah, a powerful time to kind of just like use the lunar cycle as an opportunity to be aware of any time you've committed Lashon Hara. So mindfulness around Lashon Hara every day is something good to practice, and with every Lashon HaTov, your mood, your state of being, in this case, you're feeling awfulness and feeling sad and feeling lonely, while those may be feelings you're experiencing, you're also experiencing them from some perspective inside you that's choosing to feel that way. And so you can choose to feel a different way and speak differently about yourself, and look for the good instead of the bad, and it's because what we focus on is what we create, and it's what we experience. It's like they say that the rose-colored glasses. When life is feeling good, you're seeing life through rose-colored glasses. And then when life doesn't seem so good, the rose-colored glasses disappear, and all of a sudden you see all the negativity. But you don't actually ever have to take the rose-colored glasses off. You can be mindful about keeping them on and looking for the good in everything and having that perspective. And it takes, practice, and it takes awareness and mindfulness. So this is maybe a little challenge for you to catch yourself any moment you have the Lashon HaTov feeling about yourself or anybody else, and understand how that is impacting your energetic field in a very powerful way. Like you're saying, this is not a space you enjoy being in, and it's likely due to a habit of Lashon Hara, the negative talk. So that's my sermon for the day. And for Shabbat, happy Shabbat. Something that I reflect on as a child, and like one of the lessons I learned from my grandma was when I was like a kid at the dinner table, and maybe she served something on the dinner table that I didn't really enjoy or like, and I might have like made a face and said like yuck or ew or gross, and I think she looked at me, and my sister, I think we both kind of like were sharing the same energy, or maybe my sister was feeding off of me, or I was feeding off of her. And my grandma said, if you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all. And because from my grandma's perspective, if I put myself in her shoes, she spent, I don't know, an hour cooking dinner, or lunch or whatever it was, and preparing the meal for the family, and my grandpa had to make the money to buy the food, and put it on the table. So there's a lot that went into that meal of like thought and care. And when my sister and I said yuck or gross or ew, it could be very like hurtful and dismissive to my grandmother's feelings, where as kids we were just thinking, ew, we don't like this, and we didn't want to express our disgust. But we don't have to actually say that. We could have either said nothing at all, which wouldn't have been in outward negatively speaking about something, or we could have found something nicer to say, So this was a good lesson that I learned from my grandma about Lashon Hara, and it's just a very simple one. If you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all, because you could just sit there in peace and quiet without putting negativity out into the world, and figuring out a way to deal with your own negativity inside, because you're just projecting out your internal state of being, really. So, good Shabbos. I love you. Happy to drop more nuggets of wisdom along the way. Reach out anytime. I love you.